Hi, it's me, Miss Vernon. I would like to introduce you to a book, African Americans Today. African Americans Today by Stephanie Kuligowski. This book details the lives of some of the most successful African Americans who have overcome racism and segregation. Now, we're going to not be able to go through this whole book, so I'm going to focus on the individuals themselves. And as we can see, we have Martin Luther King Jr., and it talks about the civil rights movement and Oprah Winfrey and her successes. But we're going to go now and look at them. And this is the equal opportunities, affirmative action, where in 1961, where this young woman was the only black young lady to go to the all-white school. And as you can see, these people behind her are taunting her and giving her a horrible time. And she kept moving, and she walked up those steps. And that's when segregation ended in the South. Actually, it ended all over the United States, but the South was difficult. So, there we go. Now we're going to talk about some of the African American individuals that succeeded in the face of great adversity. It was very difficult and challenging for them to succeed, but they did. And now we're going to see how. While striving for success, soldier at heart, Colin Powell, General Colin Powell, never wanted to be fourth in line to the presidency. In other words, if three people, he would have been the fourth person to take the presidency if something had happened to the president. He did not want to travel the world as a diplomat. He did not want to write reports and make speeches. He wanted to be a soldier. Powell was a boy during World War II and the Korean War. He loved hearing war stories. He and his neighborhood friends in the Bronx played with toys, soldiers, and fought imaginary battles. When Powell went to college, he joined the campus military training program. After college, he joined the Army. He loved the order and structure of military life. He rose through the ranks to become a 4-star general in command of 1 million soldiers. He was then named chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff. Powell was now the top military officer in the country. You can see him here as a young man, and then here shaking hands with the soldiers. And here he is. Powell was a brave, honorable, and wise soldier. Those qualities caught the attention of America's most powerful people. The presidents and others asked him to take leadership roles in government. Powell said no, many times. He wanted to be a soldier. But he finally agreed to trade his uniform for a suit. He became the first African-American Secretary of State in 2001. This was a really big position. It's right next to the President of the United States, who, by the way, chose him for that position. Reaching for the top, Condoleezza Rice. Condoleezza Rice was born, this is Condoleezza Rice. She was born in Birmingham, Alabama. It was not the easiest time or place to be an African American, but the racism Rice faced did not hold her back. It gave her a motive to work harder. Rice was a top student. She was so bright that she skipped the 1st and 7th grades. She graduated from high school at 16 and went on to college. She studied world relations and became a professor. College professor. Rice's area of expertise, that's what she knew. She was an expert. She knew all about the Soviet Union, which is now called Russia. It was a large country that was often at odds with the United States. In the late 1980s, the government of the Soviet Union, Russia, fell apart. President George H.W. Bush needed advice from people who understood the country. So Rice moved to Washington, D.C. to help him because she knew the most about Soviet Union and all that they were going through, and she could help him. Well, then, when his son, George W. Bush, became president, Rice advised him on international relations. In other words, other countries, all other countries. When he won the election, he gave Rice the job of National Security Advisor, which is in his cabinet, and it is a very large position in the United States. She was the first woman to have that job. Bush was reelected in 2004, and he made Rice Secretary of State, just like Colin Powell was Secretary of State. Now you have two African Americans that had one of the highest positions in the United States. So this was an amazing feat. Now we have an astronaut, the first African American astronaut. Oh, he looks so amazing. Let's read about him now. Guy Bluford, and Patricia Bath, oh, both of them, are modern pioneers. A high school counselor told Bluford that he was not college material. In other words, you can't go to college. But Bluford, earned a college degree to aerospace engineering, which is very challenging. He then joined the United States Air Force. He also served as a pilot in the Vietnam War. After earning top degrees, Bluford applied to become an astronaut at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, which you've probably heard of. That's where all the spaceships go up. It's very, well, you'll read about it. If you don't know about it, I suggest you read about it. Bluford was chosen out of 10,000 people who applied to be that astronaut. And they chose him because he was qualified. He had worked hard. In 1979, Bluford became the first African-American astronaut. He was the first African-American to travel to space. Oh, that is pretty cool. Then, Patricia Bath was a bright student. She had here she is. See with the eyes? She was an ophthalmologist, studies of the eyes. Patricia Bath was a bright student. She had a strong interest in science. She graduated from high school in just 2 years. That was pretty good. That was really good. She went to college and then medical school. She became a doctor of ophthalmology, the study of the eye. In 1968, this branch of medicine focuses on eye disease. Bath became the first African American in that field. Not only that, she invented a special probe to help treat eye problems. With her invention, Bath was able to restore sight to many people who had been blind for years. Bath got a patent for her invention in 1988. That means nobody else could claim that. It was hers. How about that? This African-American young woman who worked so hard became a doctor and a scientist who discovered how to give people back their sight. Not all people, obviously, but some people. That was just incredible. And is incredible to this day. And then we have writing from experience, women writers. And I think you'll know these names. Maya Angelou and Toni Morrison are two of the most important writers in America today. They both also happen to be African American women. Maya Angelou grew up in segregated Stamps, Arkansas in the 1930s. To support herself and her son, she worked as a waitress, a fry cook, a trolley conductor. How about that? That sounds pretty cool, actually. And a nightclub singer. She was even an actress in a play and toured the world. Woo! She did a lot. When Angelou returned home, she wrote an autobiography about her unusual life. It became a bestseller. The next year, her first book of poetry was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. That is around the globe. This Pulitzer Prize is a huge award for writers. Toni Morrison was born poor. Here she is over here. Female and African American in 1931. At that time, these qualities were disadvantages. You can imagine being poor, a female, and African American in that time, many years ago. It's very difficult. But Morrison's parents expected great things from their children. They worked hard and saved money to send them to college. Morrison became a college professor and then a book editor. In 1970, Morrison published her first novel, The Bluest Eye. You might want to look that up. Maybe I'm sure you would enjoy it. Her fifth book, Beloved, another one, is about the painful subject of slavery. Critics called the book one of the greatest American novels ever written. Yeah, there are 2 books there that you might want to think about reading. It won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction. They both won the award. In 1993, of course at different times, in 1993, Morrison became the first African winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature. This award is the world's top honor for a writer. That's just so wonderful. And then we have The Power of His Pen. Leonard Pitts Jr. pays attention to world events. Here he is right here. Here's Mr. Pitts. He then forms opinions and writes them down. He is a newspaper columnist. His column is published twice a week in many American newspapers. Millions of people want to read what Pitts thinks about life. Pitts started his career, the newspaper. Pitts started his career as an 18-year-old college student. He wrote for Soul, an American entertainment magazine. 2 years later, he became the magazine's editor. That's amazing. His writing has been published in national magazines from TV Guide to Parenting. He has also written several books. Now, you might want to look up Leonard Pitts Jr. Look for some of his books, maybe. Sometimes he writes about pop culture, sometimes he writes about politics, sometimes he writes about family life. For every topic, Pitts uses words to open minds and touch hearts. He sounds like an author I think I might be interested in looking up, and I'm going to. All right, in 2004, Pitts won the Pulitzer Prize for commentary. That is the highest honor in his field. Pitts also teaches college journalism classes and writes novels. My goodness. Look at this up here. A letter to terrorists. Pitts used his special talent with words following the September 11, 9/11. You know that, when the terrorists, planes flew into the building. Terrorist attacks on America. Pitts' column was an angry letter to the terrorists. The title was, "We'll Go Forward from This Moment." Readers were deeply moved. The piece was, I'll reread to clarify. The piece was emailed to thousands of people around the world. The words were turned into a song and printed on posters. Wow. Entertaining masses. Here we go. We have Oprah Winfrey. We all know who Oprah Winfrey is. In her daytime, Winfrey's style of interviews has always set her apart. As a young TV newscaster, Winfrey had trouble hiding her emotions. Reporters are supposed to be impartial or neutral. They should not give their own thoughts and feelings on matter. Her boss did not know what to do with a newscaster who cried during the interviews, so he made her the host of a new local talk show. It was called AM Chicago. It was later renamed the Oprah Winfrey Show. And from there, I think you knew what happened with Oprah Winfrey. She has soared. Here she is with Barack Obama. She was a huge proponent of helping to get him elected. She's helped a lot of people. And then, of course, we have Will Smith. I have to kind of move along because we don't have but a few more minutes together. Before he was a movie star, Will Smith was known as the Fresh Prince. That was the name he used as a rapper when he first came to Hollywood. Smith was only 18 years old. He and a friend had formed a rap group while in high school in Philadelphia. The two young men got a record deal. They released their first song a few weeks before graduation. The duo's music focused on middle-class African-American life. Smith refused to use swear words in his songs because he wanted to make his family proud. He is a wonderful person. And then we have actor James Earl Ray, musician B.B. King. Oh, I'm so sorry. There we go. And some amazing sports figures. So you have more to look at if you choose to come back to this book. I hope you do. And I really enjoyed reading with you and hope that you have some questions and that you got something from this reading. Have a good day.